Hey guys, happy Monday. All right. Shakti wants me to tag her, and now I don't know how to tag her. I feel like I just failed at my job. You had one job. Hold on, let me see if I can do it from my computer. Hey, Kari. I am supposed to tag Shakti, and I have never tagged while live, so now I'm like, was I supposed to do it before I went live? Let me see. Hey, ladies. I don't think I can tag her now that I'm live. Can one of you guys tag Shakti? I was joking before you guys hopped on that I was like, you had one job. You had one job to tag your co-host. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it let me tag her before I went live though. It's very possible that I just didn't do it right though. Hold on. Let me see if I can do it this way. Let me see if I can tag her from my personal page. Let's see if I can do it this way. Okay. It won't let me tag her. Oops. And I'm not wearing my sweatshirt because it's, hey Nicole, because it is hot. It's like cool outside but warm in here. There's a sliding glass door, but I can't do that because the cats will go out. There's AC, but it's like a window unit and it'll be too loud. So basically and the fan, I can't get to work. It's an awesome, I'm just really nailing life right now is pretty much what's happening. Just nailing life. Ah, fuck. Come on, Shakti. I know that I failed at my job, but can't she do hers? Can't she just like psychically know when I'm live and then like hop on? Right? There you are. Hi.
Thanks, Kari, for letting me know that this is happening.
Okay, hold on. Slow your roll. Calm your tits. I was like, okay, I tried to see if I could tag you like as I was going live, and I didn't see that option. So I was like, it's fine. I'll just tag her once I'm live. And I can't tag you once I'm live. So then I had to wait for someone else to hop on. And then I was like joking about, I was like, you had one job. You had one job and you couldn't even do that. And then I was like, can't Shakti just like psychically know when I'm live? Can't that be a thing? No, not a thing?
I cannot.
Okay.
I don't think I care enough to know that. It's like I have to deeply care or else it doesn't fucking work. No, I for some reason, maybe all of you guys are experiencing this, but my Facebook feed is not chronological anymore, so I have no idea when things are happening or if things have anything to do with me, so it's really fucking confusing. So, sorry.
I thought they were never chronological.
No, but now it's like a fucking hot mess. Like right now, if I go into my notifications, it's like a bunch of shit that I have no idea what it is. It won't even show me things that are related to me. It shows me like a bunch of other people's stuff that I'm like, what's happening right now?
Awesome.
It's very
so good.
So I don't know what's going on.
So helpful.
Anyways, guys, here I am. Ta-da!
I was also explaining that I'm not wearing my sweatshirt obviously tonight because it's cool outside, but it's warm in here. There's no windows. There's a sliding glass door, but I can't do that because the cats will get out. I can't get the fan to work because I tried all the switches and like nothing's working. There's a wall unit which would be loud, and so I decided no sweatshirt and we're just going. And I was like, you know what? I'm just fucking nailing life today is pretty much what's happening. So, can't invite Shakti, can't get anything to work. Happy Monday, everyone.
What the fuck is in retrograde is what I feel like saying. Like, which one of you motherfucking planets are in retrograde right now? Fuck up on my shit because nothing is working. All I do is cry. Oh, wait. Venus is doing some bullshit right now. Maybe that's why everybody's crying their eyes out. Because all I've been doing for the past 3 days is fucking crying. And as soon as that happens, I'm like, Venus, I'm looking at you. What the fuck is going on with my feelings right now?
All the tears. Cry, cry, cry.
Yeah, the feelings are like so intense. Fall time is like that though. Fall, everyone dies. I don't know if you've noticed. It's seriously, everyone who's ever died in my life died from September to December, and I'm like, Jesus. Every time September comes around, I'm like, here we are, dying season.
Well, I mean that makes sense. Autumn, the leaves are dying, everything's falling.
Yeah, it is what it is. That's the cycle of time, and it's so fascinating to me how people exit during this time.
Everything falls apart.
It's so interesting. Hey guys. Hi Kobe. Hi Kari.
Let us know where you guys are watching from. Let us know if you're on live. If you're watching the replay, let us know you're watching the replay.
Yeah, we are just sharing this out. I'm trying to share this out. I don't know what's happening with anything. So
what's happening with my life?
Maybe this will work. Maybe this will not work. Who knows? See?
And I just talked to someone else whose best friend, I believe, committed suicide. So it is, a lot of people are going through some shit. So
yeah, it's really intense right now. It's like fall time the veil does get very thin. So like, if you are on the edge of transitioning, you will transition. Like my stepfather has been dying slowly for a while, and I'm pretty much giving it a couple weeks before I get the phone call that he's passed away. I just know at this point that this season is the time for that. So I honestly begin to prepare myself for this season of the year emotionally, because I know that I'm entering a place of grief and of loss, and for a long time I used to fight that, and I really dreaded this season of the year. Then I was like, you know what, I just can't do that, because it is what it is, and it's a part of reality. And if there wasn't death, there wouldn't be life, and there wouldn't be this cyclical relationship that we have to reality. And so I'm going to choose to lean into it and appreciate it for what it is. And so that's what it is, guys.
Yep. All right. Also remember, if you share this out, we will do a drawing. Shakti will choose a person. I will choose.
I'm not gonna lie. I completely forgot.
Honestly,
I'm sorry.
I forgot last week too.
I love you, but I have so much shit on my plate that I legit forgot. So do us all a favor and just tag us in the comments of this and let us know that you shared it.
Yes.
So that we get notified. Mm-hmm. That would be very helpful.
Share it and then comment below shared. That would be a really easy way for us to know.
Oh, darling, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is the season. It's hard. It's really hard.
I've also seen though other people going through similar things, Kobe, and amazing outcomes coming from it. So, I think it's also a reminder that anything is possible, but we don't really have control over the outcome, but we do have control over our thoughts around it, our energy around it, how we respond and react to it. That is all within our control, right?
So I will share briefly before we kick this off that a couple of you already saw my post. A few days ago, I learned that one of my favorite teachers of all time passed away. And I learned through his daughter directly. And his daughter and I went to school together and had his classes together in high school. and beautiful people, beautiful family, amazing human being. And he was, many of you may know the video I made of talking about my story in high school and how when I came out, there was this big thing that happened with the teacher making a statement over the announcements one morning that I took great offense to. Wasn't directly related to me. It was related to another student who was in the LGBTQ spectrum. And I took great offense. This teacher was a teacher who filmed a rebuttal video with me, who helped me hand that video off to a news station to get airtime, who held my hand as this article got published in the newspaper by way of his daughter, by the way, and who offered me a place to stay when I was kicked out of my house. So this was the teacher that gave me such an intense amount of security and love in a place in my life where I felt very misunderstood and very lost as a youth. And when I found out about his death, even though it had been years since I had seen him or connected with him, that 16, 17-year-old girl just busted apart. Because she felt all the feelings of losing that kind of support, even though I no longer need that, and I have grown into the person that I am now. That felt like a tremendous loss of self. And so I had to spend time letting her cry, ugly cry, like big tears, ugly crying, which I did between Saturday and Sunday. And I feel like when things like that happen, whether it's something, maybe someone like Mr. Koz was for me that I hadn't spoken to or been around in a long time, or something like your father-in-law or my stepdad who's currently passing, whatever the outcome is, it's important to be in it, to be in the experience and not try to overanalyze your experience, because the egoic part of my brain was like, why are you so emotional over this? You haven't seen him in years. It's been forever. Like, why are you crying? It's not like you continue this relationship with him, blah, 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 blah. And so you'll talk yourself out of feelings so quickly. And that's not the point. The point is that you just feel, right? Like, feel it and have the understanding that feeling is an important component of healing. It doesn't mean you're going to swim in it forever, but you've got to be in it, to let it move through you, whatever that is. So whether or not your father-in-law recovers and is really successful at it or not, you just be in your experience, just be with it and be with him as best as you can and be with each other as best as you can. And the one thing I've learned in my life, I've lost a lot, including, this is so crazy, this full circle moment, but being part of in Mr. Koz's class, actually my very first boyfriend was killed in high school while I was a student of his. So this is like a crazy full circle moment, and he died in December, 2 weeks before my 15th birthday. So from that time to now, I've had an exceptional amount of loss between lovers, even at that young age, my very first official lover, to this educator, to family in between. I've learned that when it comes to loss, the only real thing we can give to that moment is presence. That's it. There's no amount of words that makes you feel any different. There's no amount of condolences that can cure the heartache. There's nothing that can make that moment a place you want to be in. But if you're present in that moment, you can really move through the moment with all the feelings. And then they don't get stuck. And then you don't have to carry them around forever. And then you give your family, if you're mourning with family or whatever, you give that experience your full attention. And you honor that moment for what it is. And you can then move into your future with a greater amount of ease in your heart space for that experience. So if any of you are going through loss right now, give it your presence, your full presence. Don't try to avoid it. Don't try to cover it up. Don't Just be present. That's something I just felt I really needed to say for someone on this call. Don't know who, maybe me. But hope it serves.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's interesting that you talk about the importance of feeling emotions, right? And then many of you who have been following Shakti's journey know that she has really fully worked through her emotional eating, has been very diligent in honoring that journey and coming through the other side. And I just really publicly shared that it's been an area of my journey that, although is so much better than it's ever been, it's not healed yet. Um, and I had an experience yesterday. You know, I'm like, I teach so heavily on taking care of yourself and honoring your feelings and feeling your feelings and go, you know, like not shoving it down. And I'm in an experience right now where I'm constantly feeling discomfort. You know, my situation is very different from Shakti's experience and where she's currently at in her life, but our underlying feelings are very similar as far as the level of discomfort that we're experiencing, and honoring where we're at and really understanding the importance of leaning into the discomfort. And I've been teaching a lot on this recently, and we both reflected on this end of last week and knew that we wanted to come live to talk to you guys about it today, because leaning into the discomfort is where growth happens. But so often you experience that level of discomfort and ego says something's wrong, I shouldn't be feeling this, and so you run the other direction, or you go back to some numbing technique, whether it is emotional eating, emotional drinking, binge watching TV shows, scrolling Facebook, having sex with whomever, you know, like there's a variety of ways, and we've talked about different numbing techniques. But for me, like, as I've reflected, I'm like, it's amazing, for as heavy of a drinker as I was, it's amazing to me how quickly, compared to food, that my emotional drinking was healed. Like, I never feel the urge to emotionally drink ever anymore. Like, there's a bottle of wine sitting there and I chose to eat ice cream yesterday. You know, I'm just like, I just don't have any interest in drinking. But so yesterday so for really since I've been in California, I've been experiencing this level of discomfort consistently, because basically what's continuously coming up for me is old limiting beliefs around money and finances, and my scarcity mindset, like all of that's being triggered pretty much all the time. And it would be so easy for me to just be like, you know what? I just can't afford to live in certain areas of California, so I'm just going to go to another state. I'm not going to actually honor this journey and lean into the discomfort and heal what needs to be healed. And so I was reflecting on all of that and realizing, like, this is a pivotal moment in my journey where I stop running from the things that are uncomfortable, where I really face them head on and say, this is enough. This level of discomfort, this limiting belief, this pattern, this experience, whatever this is not in alignment with the highest version of myself. And so if I am trying to get to, you know, kind of an elevated consciousness, it does not serve me to stay stuck in an old pattern going around and around and around and around. So yesterday I gave into the emotional eating, and it wasn't like binge eating like it has been previously, but I had the awareness of, you're eating ice cream because you don't want to feel what's currently going on. Like, there's just kind of like back to back things going on day after day, as far as things that were brought up that brought discomfort. And I was just like, I don't want to deal with this today. Like, I'm a human being. I just don't want to deal with this today. Fuck it. And so I like ate the baklava and I ate some ice cream. And I was like, the whole time I was just like, you're eating your feelings right now. I was like, yes, I am. Yeah. But then like in that moment, I had that moment where it was just, I don't want to do this anymore. I want off the merry-go-round. I don't want to do it anymore. And so I drew a line in the sand last night and decided that today's day one of my 8-week program that I'm doing again. And it's a Monday, which doesn't really matter, but it happened to be a Monday. And I was just like, on Monday, I make the choice that I am going to face it head on. And then I had something else come up in my business today that was uncomfortable to look at. And I was just like, fuck. of all the times, right? I couldn't choose to like go through this when things are going like amazingly well in my business. It has to be like, you know, obstacle after obstacle or contrast coming up that it's like, but this is oftentimes when we get challenged. When you make that decision, and so often you make the decision, you say, I want to do this thing, and then you get met with resistance or contrast or whatever, and you back out because you're like, you know what? It's not convenient for me. Just kidding. I'll do it another time. This is the time when you get met with the resistance, when you get met with the contrast, that is the time. Because there is no greater time to experience breaking that pattern and really working through that limiting belief or whatever than now. And so it came up, and I cried again today, and I reflected to Shakti, and I was like, God damn it. Like, all of the shit that's coming up right now, and I had other realizations about my business and up-loving and all these things, and I was just like, my entire world is basically falling apart right now. And not like in a negative, like, oh, poor Anne, everything's falling apart. It's like in a positive way. There has to be chaos. Everything has to kind of fall apart before you can rebuild something even stronger. And so I'm realizing that all of these things are falling apart around me. And it's because I made the decision I'm no longer choosing to align with that older version of myself. I know that I want to align with the highest version of myself. And in order to do that, I kind of have to make this leap. I have to release the things that no longer serve me. And so, you know, the discomfort is a gift. It is showing you that you are on the verge of a breakthrough if you can just continue to take one step in front of the other.
Hang tight. So here's a fun story. So I'm going to share a story as well, as old as Anne's in many ways. Not as old, because this has been like a lifelong thing for you, but it's as long as I've been a therapist. So here's an official announcement, by the way. If you've been following me and you're like, what is she talking about? What's her announcement? I'm going to drop it right now and like tell all you people. Oh, there we go. Someone else tired of going around in circles, getting hit at every pass. That's how you know. So this is going to tie in perfectly to my story. So I've been a body worker, massage therapist for 6 years. And from the time that I graduated in massage school, I was exceptionally clear about a couple of things. One was that I was extremely gifted at energy therapy, like extremely gifted, completely untrained. I have an intuition for that shit that's like a laser beam. It is like infallible in a lot of ways. And the other one was that I had a passion for helping people get out of discomfort, whether it was physical or emotional. And I fell into the medical world. I worked for a lot of different people. I've worked for chiropractors, I've worked for PTs, I've worked for surgeons, I've worked for bunch of different environments. I've been in a spa for 4 years, et cetera, et cetera. And the entire time that I have been a therapist, I have had so many people tell me you need to go into private practice. You need to go into private practice. Too good. You need to have private practice, and you need to focus on the kind of energy therapy that you want to give people. And I've been like, resistance, right? And so what I did was I started saying to myself, well, maybe if I went to school again, sound familiar? Who's tapping into this right now? Maybe if I went to school again and became a PT, if I went to PT school and became a doctor, people would take me more seriously, then I could have a private practice. Right? Does that sound familiar? If I went to this school and got a degree in this, then people would take me more seriously. Right? We all do this. I got met with like obstacle after obstacle after obstacle of going back to school. And it's because I didn't need to go back to school. What I needed to do was own the fuck out of the kind of therapist that I am. And I wasn't doing that. And so finally, this year, I made the decision to open a private practice space. And I am doing it by October 1st. It will be up, it will be operational, and I will have a place to see my clients to treat the way that I want to treat them. It's taken me 6 years to build up the motherfucking courage to make this decision. It has been a terrifying decision for me to make. Ironically, and as the world works, and this is why I'm sharing this part of the story so you guys understand that everything that happens to us is for a reason. And everything that comes into our life is for a reason. When I became a Beachbody coach almost 3 years ago, I didn't know shit about having a business, really, especially in the online world. I had started a couple businesses, but they weren't what I would call very successful. So I was very nervous starting an online business to boot. And what has happened in the 3 years that I've built my Beachbody business, which is now, I think, a very successful business, I've learned how to do business. I've learned that I love social media marketing. I've learned that I don't actually have to try, because just being my loud, crass, obnoxious fucking self is like amazing to people, and they love me, and that's awesome. And I've learned that I can take that very same skill set and I can apply it to my world for body work. And that has given me a new sense of confidence in running a business that I didn't have 6 years ago when I became a body worker. And so it's funny how things bring us around, right? Like everything happens in our life for a reason, to come to a certain point, right? Thanks, guys, for all the celebration that's happening on the thread. Thank you, guys. But I had to be willing to really lean in this time and say, because my pattern is, I'm going to do it. And then an opportunity comes up and I back off. And I think I better go to school again, or I better just be happy with a job, or I better just, I always would back down. And this time I was like, you're not going to do that anymore. You're not, because there is a niche of people who are living in chronic pain, who have injuries that no one can fix, that you can fix. And as long as you're hiding in a really safe environment, doing the kind of massage you don't want to do, they can't find you because they don't know where you are. So when I told myself that, and I got really serious with myself, it really opened my eyes. Like, I am limiting my impact because I'm terrified of not being good enough, which isn't that what we're all scared about anyway? That's the same lie that every single one of us believes. We're not good enough. That's why we don't make the money we want. That's why we don't do the thing we want to do. That's why we don't, because we just don't think we're good enough. That's deep down our greatest insecurity, is that we're not good enough, right? And so remember these words when you don't want to lean into the discomfort. By you running away from the edge on which you're going to grow, you are deliberately limiting your impact. You are deliberately withholding your gift and your light from your community, locally and globally, because of a fear. That's what you're doing. You are pretty much saying to the universe, I know I came in here with all of these abilities and gifts, but I don't fucking care. No thanks.
I'm good.
That's the thing. No thanks. No thanks. And because I happen to be very empathic, I thought about the people that I know living in chronic pain and that I'm currently treating, and if they had never found me, what their life would be like. And it's soul crushing. It's soul crushing to imagine that for them. And so that drove me to be brave, because I was like, I have to be there for them, right? So most of you are super empathic, and that's why you follow us and watch us, because you really relate to our stories. So please think about this. Whatever part of the journey that you're on, that you're not wanting to go through, that you're wanting to resist, what are you saying to the universe by resisting your experience? What are you actually saying by not leaning into the discomfort?
And I would say, to piggyback off of what Shakti just said, and I just did a video in our team page today about, what you do when you don't want to do the work. Like when you don't want to show up for your business, when you either have things going on in your personal life, or you have things falling apart, you know, in your business that you didn't anticipate, because you can never fully anticipate everything, right? And so what do you do when you have those moments? And I think about, you know, when you're going through your own shit, in order to show up still for your business, if you have any moments where you don't, like, you're fucking selfish. You're being so selfish to be like, well, I can't show up for other people because these other things are going on, right? And in the moment, in any moment where I've had either personal struggles or business struggles, and I have continued to show up, I always have to tap back into who are the people I've helped, who are the people I've served, and how would their life be different if I stopped showing up? Like, many of you on here, I've helped in some capacity. And I know that, like, your life would not be the same if I just gave up on the discomfort and said, fuck it, I don't want to face that. You know, so really think about that. And the other thing I wanted to say in regards to what Shakti said, as far as, you know, network marketing, and I know this is just kind of like a side note, but network marketing is insanely awesome for learning how to build a business. And
yep,
any of you out there who are either business owners or want to be business owners, I would heavily recommend you find a network marketing company that feels in alignment with you. I don't care if it's Beachbody, but obviously Shakti and I are both with Beachbody. But the amount you can learn about business for free by pairing up with a network marketing business, like, to not do that is fucking stupid. I'm just gonna say it. It's fucking stupid. Because otherwise you're gonna have to invest thousands of dollars in a business coach who's going to teach you to do those things, when you could pair up with another company, make a side income, and learn business for free. Like, that's a big reason why I came back. You know, I left for a year, and then I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I lost money. I lost all the training I had. Like, I lost the community. That seems like a really dumb choice. I think I'll come back now.
And so, like, if you are interested in something, body, consider, like, your value system is the other thing I wanted to add. Like, not just the company, but, like, what kind of vibe do you want in the company? Like, we are very spiritual. We're extremely spiritual. Everything is alignment. Everything is, like, highly metaphysical before material, right? So that's how we train our coaches, and that's how we operate. So be sure, too, you're finding something that speaks to your soul as well. I just wanted to throw that in there, because if you don't, then the business training, it will be useful to you, but it's not going to really resonate, you know, at the level that you want it to in order to help you.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Like, it's 6:34. What should we talk about?
Is it frozen? Are you frozen again? Oh my God, you in the freezing.
Am I frozen?
You look frozen on my screen, you guys. She just frozen on my screen.
Oh my God, am I frozen again? I am frozen again. You guys, this is ridiculous. Like, it just randomly happens. We're just all of a sudden like, oh no, I just, like, every fucking week, and it's about halfway through every week. It's just like, here's a speaker on your face. Oh my God. Well,
oh man,
cool.
That's
cool
kind
story, guys. Like I said at the beginning of this, I'm fucking nailing life, guys. Nailing it. I'm just so good at life right now.
I wanted to add to that piece. Were you done on the network marketing thing, or did you want to add something else? Because you have a lot to say about that. I know.
Clearly the internet's like, Anne, you just need a break. Just, here you go. Just
the internet's stop. Like, and the end. So I I wanted to add to this whole piece about, because we titled this, oh, I'm just seeing Julie's comment right now. Lots of contrast. Yeah, no shit.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just said that to her today. I was like, when you show up and life is like, oh, you want to like be a healer? Perfect. Shit on you. Learn how to deal with all the shit. That's like what happened. Yes, if any of you are on that road. What I was gonna add now after I read Tana's comment, it's like on the edge of my mind though. It's making its way back. It's making its way back around. Oh, I do remember now. All those superfoods. The title of this call, right? So like when you're in the shit and you're leaning into the shit and you're like leaning into the discomfort, and this feels really uncomfortable. And Anne's area, she's touching up against all these things that are asking her to grow. And in my case, making this really big decision that's been like kind of holding me back for 6 years, you know, that I've been like playing with and not committing to. And, you know, when we're in that place, part of what helps you get through that place is being able to sustain a vision that is greater than your circumstances. So this is the piece where this is taken from Joe Dispenza. This is willing to think greater than your circumstances. And that means that no matter where you are right now, no matter what your bank account is like, no matter what your relationship to food or weight or a relationship, like romantic in nature, or is, you must have the capacity to see beyond your current circumstances with an exceptional amount of clarity, to know where you are going, because you are literally dictating the very next action. So what's your news? Like Anna and I talk about that all the time. This is old news. This contrast is old. Because we create visioning that we casted for now. So where you are going next is not defined yet. You are casting the vision for that in this moment. And I'll give you a really good example of this. 4 years ago, when I first moved to the state, and I was friends with someone who in their space, you know, we met. She was a receptionist of a really like franchise massage joint, and I was my first job, and I was like, whatever. We became fast friends. She was like, I'm gonna go to aesthetic school and I'm gonna have my own place. It was like her goal, and we've worked there. I called her my work soulmate. We joked all the time about having and then, you know, years later we worked together someplace else. She did become an esthetician. I worked as a therapist and the co-owner of the location where I will be working as a therapist, and we will be working together again for the third time. And I looked at her when I went to the space to go see, and I said to her, do you realize that we casted the vision for this moment 4 years ago when we first met, and it's coming to pass? And she just looked at me and she said, oh my God, it's true. And that is what life constantly casting vision. You are missing the opportunity to grow out of your circumstances. Swimming in the pool of the shit circumstances that you're in right now, and all you talk about is how bad things are, and all you talk about is how limited you feel, and all you talk about is how much in pain you are, and that's everything that you pay attention to, you will never be able to walk out of it at all. You've got to be able to hold a vision for something greater than where you are. And even though you're living difficulty, that you are constantly speaking life, speaking to your future, speaking possibility, speaking opportunity, speaking growth, speaking vision. Speak to what you want, not to what you don't want. Process what you're feeling. Trust in someone to navigate your feelings through. Be in the experience, but don't pot indefinitely. Because what you stir is what you're going to see, and what you're going to add that in there.
Yeah. So um, when Shakti was talking about that, it brought up something else for me to talk to you guys about. So I've been also talking a lot about the power of imagination and why we use imagination and like visualizing. And it's interesting how we can learn about a tool, learn about a strategy, and then even though we understand it and utilize it, it comes back around and we understand it on a completely different level, like on a deeper level, and we're really able to integrate it into our lives. So I've known about visualization, of course, for like a really long fucking time, and I was using it before I even knew what it was, right? I lived in my imagination a lot, and I just did a live video today about how I went from flunking out of the University of Iowa to graduating with a master's degree from UF solely based on living in my imagination. and um and so I've also been having this realization of, you know, this whole daring to think greater than your circumstance is so important because, for example, my current budget for renting Airbnbs is not where I want to be forever, right? Like I would like to be able to spend more money on where I stay. That's a desire of mine because there's other areas in California that I want to experience that I'm currently unable to experience based on my current budget. And so I started to just look at, like, on Airbnb, if you guys have ever done that, you can have like a range, like a price range or whatever. And I used to just put the price range obviously down to whatever my current price range is. But I started to ask myself, like, what would it look like in other areas? And so here's an example. I looked at a place in Santa Cruz on the beach, and it was like 10 grand for a month. And I immediately had that feeling of like, holy fuck. Because like I don't have 10 grand sitting in my bank account to spend on a month's worth of rent. And some of you guys might say, well, that's completely unreasonable. Who wants to spend 10,000? That's something I want to experience. I would like to experience what would it feel like to just drop 10K on a month on a beach place and like not even blink. I would like to experience that. That's not currently where I'm at energetically. And I think a lot of times people say, well, I set these intentions and I set these goals, but then nothing ever happens. Well, are you daring to think greater than your circumstance? Or are you just focusing on where you are? And like Abraham talks about, is super fancy, Julie. Like Abraham talks about beating the drum. Are you constantly beating the drum of where you're currently at? Or are you stretching outside and imagining what would it feel like to experience that? And so when I realized that if I spend the rest of my time on this journey only looking at places that are in my current price range, I will never expand what it feels like to imagine being in a place that is more abundant than where I'm currently staying. And so I've made it a point to spend time every day looking at different areas of California, not putting a price range on it, and just looking at the pictures and visualizing and imagining being in different areas and staying in different Airbnbs, right? And here's where I had like another breakthrough yesterday. And again, it's not new information, but I heard it in a different way. I used to focus on visualizing as if I can really clearly see the picture, then it has a better chance of being created in my life. But it's not the thoughts that create, you guys. It's the feelings that create. The purpose of visualization is not for the actual vision. The purpose of visualization is for you to feel a certain way based on visualizing what it looks like. So I related this in a post yesterday to porn. You don't watch porn, whether you agree with porn or not is completely irrelevant, but you don't watch porn because your intention is to create that exact scenario in your bedroom. I mean, maybe it is, but for most people, that's not the purpose, right? The purpose of porn is for you to feel something.
Maybe it is.
I mean, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge, guys? But the purpose of porn is for you to feel a certain way. It gets you in the mood, right? And so that is the purpose of visualization. It is like porn for your dreams.
Porn for your dreams?
I mean, it's true.
Oh my god, I need that on a t-shirt immediately. Immediately.
Okay, you guys have to quote me though. You have to quote me on that.
Visualization is porn for your dreams. Oh boy.
I mean, tell me I'm wrong, Shakti. I know I'm not.
Definitely not wrong. Definitely not wrong. And I'll tell you something about the visualization. You have to be mindful about, because this is a breakthrough I had about visualizing during a meditation. Visualizing, I was letting the visualizations come, and I was all sort of revolving around like me doing stuff that I wanted to do and me being places I wanted to be and me feeling things I wanted to feel, which is great. But that's what I call like first level satisfaction.
Like foreplay.
Right? Yeah, like that's foreplay. That's first level satisfaction. That's where things start to get really good, where you can tend to your needs and you're having experiences that you want to have. But then I thought about what is like my ultimate goal, right? And I made a post about this and I shared something and a bunch of you people commented on it as well, where it was like my ultimate goal in life is like my full-time job is to once a week pick someone random that I find via the internet or in person and do like a massive random act of kindness, right? Like buy them a car if they're taking 3 buses to get to work or school, or pay for someone's college education, or pay for someone to go visit family they haven't seen in years. That's like a big dream of mine that I have, is that my full-time job becomes once a week funding something extraordinary of that nature. So all the efforts of the businesses that I run and the income that I am generating is to be able to live a life where this is what I do for fun and this is also my job. Like this is literally what I do for a job. And when I thought about that, I just welled up inside with so much joy. And then I said to myself, that's it. That's the feeling that I want to feel. So that allowed me to get deeper into the feeling component of visualizing. There's nothing wrong with visualizing things that you want to experience directly, but what was happening was that I wasn't able to emote anymore around those visions. I wasn't having emotions come up as I was seeing those things. It was just like happy, you know, but I wasn't having that deep, I want to cry because this brings me so much joy feeling, which to me is even more powerful of a leverage when you're visualizing. So I had to switch to a different, like a tier 2 or tier 3 of impact, which then brought me that level of emotion. And so now I understand this is what I really should be visualizing, because my life will lead me to a place where I can make this a reality. I don't have to worry about the how. What I have to focus on is what do I ultimately want? And what I ultimately want is that. I want to be that kind of a person. I want to have that kind of a life, and I want an entire TV show dedicated to doing that. That's like literally what I want, like largest aspiration. And so by zooming into the feelings of doing that and how much fun that's going to be and how great it's going to be to hug those people and surprise them and have that much fun with people that I don't know, and it doesn't matter because I feel like I love them already even though I have no idea who they are, that lights me up inside. That brings me an extraordinary amount of joy, and when I sit and think about that, it moves me faster into that place of like consciousness and all that is. So I ask you guys, if you're visualizing and you're not emoting and you're not having that experience, then perhaps it's time to upgrade to like tier 2 or 3 of your dreams so that you can find that emotion, because you need to be emoting in order to really connect, you know. For some of you, tier 1 might still be emotive, but it wasn't for me anymore. So if you're in a similar boat, this might be helpful.
Well, and I think it also depends on how normal things feel, right? So like this is also how manifesting or creating works as well. When I was talking about, you know, staying in a $10,000 a month place, that doesn't feel normal. That doesn't feel familiar. So I'm still in that place where it's like exciting and new, and like I'm able to emote from that space. Now, if it was a matter of something that would just even going to the next town over or whatever, or staying in a very similar Airbnb, that doesn't really, I don't really emote with that because I'm currently living that life. That's very normal for me. And so it's also possible, like in Shakti's example, that experiencing certain things in her life, she's like, I already experienced a lot of these things in my life, or they don't feel so far off that they don't feel normal. They still feel pretty normal and familiar. And so she needed to stretch beyond. So also just be aware of where you're at. You know, if it may still be you're stretching yourself in your own personal life, but it's for something that doesn't feel normal yet. You know, the fancy place, I know, you guys, I cannot wait to be in this fancy place. It's like fucking gorgeous too. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, so like if something feels normal to you and feels, you know, at initial accomplishments, I would say maybe 5 or 6 months ago, it was very exciting and I did get very emotional, but that's become normal for me now. I see that as being an obvious next step in my future. So that's why I need to go someplace different. So be aware of that too. You know, some people are like, well, it hasn't happened yet, so I have to keep thinking about it. No, no, no. That's not how that works. Once something feels organic and normal to you, it's done. Whether or not it has showed up in material reality doesn't matter. It's already done. So you can let it go and start dreaming of something that does bring you emotion. Because that's the new normal. That's what's next. Before they show up, they get normal feeling. There's a gap of time. So once it starts to feel normal, you've done the work. That's it. You're not going to keep visualizing the same thing. Okay? It's coming. Just put it aside and move on. Move on to the next thing that excites you. And that's how you manifest your entire life. That's how it works. It's really that.
Yeah, and I think that so many people, like Shakti talked about, you kind of beat the drum as far as like it hasn't shown up in person or in, you know, my in the material world yet, so therefore I have to keep focusing on it over and over and over again. Then it starts to feel like a chore. If it starts to feel like a chore, it's no longer enjoyable. If it's no longer enjoyable, then you've just blocked yourself from receiving it. So if it feels like it, and so this is why I talked about, you know, I didn't really enjoy visualizing for a long time because it felt like a chore. I felt like I can't clearly see it, and so therefore I have to try harder, and I had to focus so much on it, and then I was like, oh my god, I'm exhausted. So it's like trying to force an orgasm, you know, like it's not gonna happen. And so if you can just allow yourself to relax and find the joy in it, find the pleasure in it, like now I'm like, I love visualizing because like I do live the majority of my day in my head now in a positive way. And in my live video, what I talked about is that you guys are all living in imagination in some way, shape, or form. You're just not always intentional about what you're imagining. And so those of you who try to prepare for the worst or focus on worst case scenario because you think it's going to benefit you, you're fucking yourself up. Like fucking yourself up. You're always like imagining something. So imagine something that feels good. And if it's not, I think that so many people, and I was totally in this boat where like you don't, you know, you see something happening in your outer world and you're like, well, this is what I'm experiencing in the material world. Wrong if I feel good regardless of what I see. No, it's not. You're not obligated to feel like shit, guys. Like no matter what's in your bank account, no matter what your job is like, no matter what your relationships like, you're not obligated to feel like shit. You could choose to live in your happy place in your mind and create a scenario that's way more fun to experience and like move your body through the material world but live in your head. That's way more fun.
That phrase that you use, like hope for the best and prepare for the worst. That's like saying cut off my leg to prevent myself from ever getting gangrene. Like, what the fuck is that about? It makes zero sense. Literally makes zero sense. That makes no sense at all. Like, what did you just say? Every time someone says that to me, I'm like, just repeat it. Just say it again and say it slowly so you can hear what you're saying. That's not how reality works. What you prepare for is what you get. Hope is weak sauce, you guys. Hope is weak. Hope is like the very first feeling that gets you out of dark and despair, but it's not powerful enough to move you to where you want to be. Okay? What you prepare for is what you get. What you prepare for is what you're committing to. So if you are shit, it's gonna poop on you day, night, afternoon, all day, every day. You're just gonna get a poop parade in your life. That's what your life's gonna be like. Okay? So quit doing that, because it's awful and it's serving no one, including you. Put your poop umbrella away and start singing a different tune, because aren't you tired? Aren't you tired is all I want to say. Aren't you tired of that same thing? Exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, when it comes to changing the trajectory, you know, from where you are to where you're wanting to go, asking yourself, what would the highest version of me do? And then do that. And like, you know, for me, I'm getting triggered a lot around finances, even though I'm financially secure. I have way more money than I had when I was in Mississippi, and ego is pretending as if we're going through the same fucking thing. And I'm like, we're not, though, actually going through this at all. And if you keep fucking worrying about it, we're going to replay that. And I have no desire in replaying that experience. I already know how that shit played out, guys. I don't need to experience it a second time. I know how that story ends. And so every time I experience myself wanting to contract and save and pinch pennies and do all that to prepare, right? To prepare just in case, I'm like, oh, fuck, no, nope. There is no preparing for that. So I ask myself, what would the most abundant version of me do? Would the most abundant version of me stress out about, you know, 30 cents on organic versus conventional or whatever it is? You know, would the most abundant version of me, like I experienced this when I went to Joshua Tree, because I really wanted the annual pass, the annual parks pass, which was $80 for the year. To get into Joshua Tree was $30. So up front, obviously it was less money, but I was like, I know that I'm going to go to multiple parks around the US. So why would I not invest in the annual pass that ultimately saves me money down the road? And then I asked myself, what would the most abundant version of me do? That bitch would buy the annual pass. And so I bought it and was super pumped about it, you know? Park pass, yeah. So ask yourself that question. What would the highest version of myself do? What would the most abundant version of me do? Get into the feeling first and then act from there. Act from that level of consciousness. And you know, Shakti, that's something that I can understand. You know, we've read a lot of Neville Goddard and studied a lot of Neville Goddard, and Neville Goddard talks about that, right? Acting from the level of consciousness. Yep. And I feel like even though I understood it on an intellectual level, I didn't really integrate it into my being until recently. I was like, oh, now I understand it. Like really asking that question, what would this version, this level of consciousness of me do? And then take action from that.
Yeah, and even asking yourself, like, how does she move? Or how does he move in space? When you see this person, this future version of you, how do they carry their body? What's their posture like? How do they adorn themselves? What do they smell like? When they step into a store, what are they thinking? When they step outside, what are they thinking? When they're going to their job or their career, their vocation, what are they feeling? Interact with people, how things that help you get into character. Imagine that you were going to play a role on a feature film. What a really good actor or actress does is they become that person. There is like, my favorite story of this is, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan and a massive nerd. That should tell you everything. And when Aragorn was getting into character for Aragorn, he carried his sword everywhere. Everywhere. They had a blacksmith make the sword. It is a legitimate sword. And he out every restaurant he went to, every place he went, he had a sword with him. He was getting accustomed to carrying the weight of the sword because it's fucking heavy, and what it feels like to have it on his body and travel with it and move his body in space. And he was becoming over time, right? And he was building a relationship to the sword, which was ignored in the book and in the story. And he was supposed to have a very reverent relationship with this character in the book. Has like it's just such it's a totem, you know, it's a very to have been given, and it's given to him. And so he had to have a reverence for it that was above and beyond. And so he spent all stepping into having the level of reverence and familiarity that his character would have with the sword. That is what you are doing when you are stepping into your future self. You are imagining all those very little things, from how this person adorns themselves, to how this person moves in space, to what things this person owns or doesn't own, to what kind of conversations this person has or doesn't have, cadence of their voice, the gait of their step, how they smell. All these small things make a character. And if you can begin to step into that, that doesn't cost anything to step into the character of who your future self is and moves and feels like. The more you do that, the more you begin to train your body as your mind, which is something that Joe Dispenza teaches. And you begin to convince your body that you are this person. And as you begin to convince your body, because of the way that you move, that you are this person, suddenly you start to become this person, and you have the ideas that person would have, and you have the kind of conversations that person has, and you step out of your comfort zone the way that person would, and the next thing you know, you're making all these new connections that person would make. You have become that person without even realizing what you were doing. You were stepping into the character. So this is fun, and it should be fun, and it should be something that you take with a lot of enthusiasm and run. And when you do this over time, you will be writing to us and telling us, holy shit, it worked. It really worked.
Yep.
Because it has to work.
Yep. And everything that Shakti just talked about, like everything that she just talked about, it was that level of awareness. That is when I made my decision to cut the bullshit with my emotional eating. Because every single time I visualized in the future, I was thinner, I was more fit, I was confident, and I'm confident, but I'm less confident in my body than I have been before. And so every time I visualize, the person I saw in my visualization is not what I currently physically look like. And the truth is that if I do not become that person, then I can never step into the future that I visualize. It is impossible because I have not become that person. And you know, it's beyond, like, when we talk about breaking your patterns, or you guys say like it's hard, or I don't know what to do, or I fell off the wagon, or whatever. Like, understand that this is why we don't help our clients solely for the weight. The weight is a byproduct, but we help you become the version of yourself that you are wanting to become, so that you can live the life that you guys are telling us you want to live. So when we offer you a fitness program, or Shakeology, or Workout Warriors, or to join our team, it is not for the surface level bullshit that you think it might be. goes way beyond that. It goes so far beyond that, because if you do not step into the energy of your future self, you cannot become that person ever, and you will not live your dreams.
Truth. I invite people to coach.
So I think we'll leave you with that truth bomb.
I see that a lot with our coaches. I see that a lot. When I invite someone, I see who you are. And that's why I'm inviting you. Because I see the magic.
Yep.
We see the magic. Otherwise, we wouldn't talk to you. We wouldn't care. We're busy. We've got lives. But if we're talking to you, it's because we see it. So trust that.
Well, yeah. So, and again, like one more thing before we hop off, exactly what Shakti just said. I was watching a church service yesterday. I've been streaming this place in Chicago called the Bodhi Spiritual Center. And there was a guest minister yesterday, and I was like cheering from my computer watching him, because he was talking about when he goes to visit people in the hospital. And he referenced Neville so many times, Shakti. I was like, oh my God, this guy's like totally in alignment with us. But he was talking about when he goes to visit, people in the hospital. And he's like, when I go to visit you in the hospital, I don't see the doctors. I don't see the tubes. I don't see any of that. I see you for the truth of who you are. So I know a lot of you get triggered when I tell you what you're capable of, and when I tell you that your excuses are just that. And the reason I do that is not to be fucking disrespectful and to just be a triggering bitch. That's not my purpose. My purpose is because the reason I do that is because I see you for the truth of who you are. And I will never see your limitations, because it doesn't serve you at all for me to sit there and see your limitations. Yep. If I can't see you in the wholeness that you are, then like, don't fucking hire me, because I'm not going to do anything for you. If I can't see you, if I can't see beyond your excuses and beyond your limitations and beyond all that, don't hire me, because I can't help you. And so when we say we see you for the truth that, the truth of who you are, we see you in your wholeness, we see you, your potential, we see what you're capable of. That is the level of consciousness that we are inviting you from, because we know what is possible for you.
Yep. All that.
All right, guys. Now that I've just ended flat. Thanks to everyone who hopped on. Again, share this video out if you want to be chosen for either a mindset call or a mini reading from Shakti. And comment below once you've shared it, just so that we see that you have shared it. We'll get the notification. Other than that, have a wonderful evening, and we will see you guys next Monday. Bye.
Bye.